Recording is in
Hello.
progress.
Thank you, Andrew. So, hello and good morning to everybody. Welcome to our 30th week of the Indigenous Global Unity Summit series. So we are on the final Thursday of 2021. So this will be another little bit of a special presentation. I got a request by Andrew to present sort of the upcoming. He'll explain it when he gets to it. But what we try to do today is I'll shorten my presentation a little bit and added a few slides sort of to give a little bit of an overview so people can better understand what it is we're doing. So every time I do have one of these events, the first thing we do is acknowledge those who came before us on this land. So I do say a land acknowledgement, which goes as follows. We begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups and their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So once again, I will start the presentation and share my screen. Just give me a second here. Just let me know when people can see on the screen. You can see a little bit of a busy front cover. Oops. Am I good to go?
Yes, we can see it fine. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So as always, I start this presentation by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors. So in particular, Andrew Networks, which has replaced EDFU Foundation as a primary sponsor of these Global Unity Network weekly events, which will now last through December 29, 2022. So Andrew Networks also rebroadcasting production-ready episodes on the new ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors.org domain, which will be redirected to UCIT TV site. So you'll see logos on this page. In particular, I like to point out the Maui Aloha Project, the Five Points Youth Foundation, the Ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future Foundation, Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, the Community Development Foundation, the American International Education Federation, EDFU Foundation, and of course, many more. So again, Andrew Networks is now our primary sponsor supporting the Global Unity Network initiative through December 29th, 2022. It is actually Andrew Networks that donates our hosting promotional support services, with Andrew Networks being a brand and domain name owned by RXTC export trading company comprising various social media channels, including TRN-TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So Andrew, of course, also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with the focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs, 2020 to 2030. So Andrew later appointed me as Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador Representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and Commonwealth of Nations countries, and published that on January 1st, 2020, with Turtle Island added later this year, or earlier this year, 2021. So I am, as always, Lloyd Halferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energy University here in Canada. The university being a private company created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance in their local environments. Energy does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong, diversified local economy, while integrating sustainable technologies and infrastructure into those communities in the areas of renewable energy, high density food growth, managing local waste streams, and protecting local water resources. So Energime is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energime University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So, my contact information. So, I'm also, of course, the co-founder and administrator of the We Energize Global Corporation Turtle Island International Civil Society organization that is seeking to deliver or undertake life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So I am also Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation, originally in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities, as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as interfaith, neighborhood, and business collaboratives, which are seeking to leave no one behind. And you'll see here as well actually, I will get to that later, but we are rebranding the IMBCs. I will actually need to update my presentation at this point. So I am also co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which actually came together as a coalition of small businesses earlier this year in order to establish, manage, and grow the Global Unity Network. Global Unity Business Group being a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the BCN, or Interchange for Peace. So the Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize this process of localization of global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of this Global Unity Network, which so far includes a Unity Gardens network, a Unity Learning Network, along with many other dedicated Unity networks, all being important components of our network of networks. So the Global Unity Business, the Global Unity Network was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting, of course, with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, with our goal being to uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm focused on making money or extracting wealth from those who are already wealthy. Therefore, the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. Our focus is less on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people in communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are most food insecure. So the Global Unity Network promoting delivery of practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030, using the tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on what we call female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, or FFHE, hybrid, virtual, and hands-on education and training or learning platforms with a primary focus on delivery of humanitarian entrepreneurship, skills training in practical settings, or practicum learning, leveraging various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INBC teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all these local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms set up in conjunction with existing schools and these local communities can be used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for those FFHE to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity for all people on all the continents, with the intention and goal of leaving no one behind. So our Global Unity Network, at the same time that we promote through the virtual social marketing as well, all of the members of our network. So we are using these practical social media networking and trade tools of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combined with deep Indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of this earth, in order to share the abundance of this planet and learn from each other in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all the local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity and ensure abundance for all. Ultimately restoring the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So the Global Unity Network, virtual collaborative network hybrid learning model will be delivered through both the Unity Gardens for the hands-on experiential practical learning, as well as through a digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of individual websites to a single site or collaborative portal that allows all of the digital and virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where the e-commerce also takes place. In other words, it's an all-in-one platform for trade, commerce, and learning, bundled into a single platform. The VCN uses a digital collaborator engine intended to turbocharge the networking, exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's also called a PXN, Partner Ecosystem, which with digital collaboration technology helping organizations in the 6 areas of digital transformation, in areas of leadership, digital strategy, customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and for doing health check analysis of their organization. So we believe this VCN platform can help every organization become an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them to move beyond the current health pandemic. So the VCN intended to be a stepping stone toward a new vision of the internet called the metaverse, which has a lot of attention recently, with, of course, the renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which of course refers to this metaverse concept. So the business group, we are managing the Global Unity Network geographically by helping to create localized country, regional, and continental UnityNet local business development networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks, along with regional and continental Unity Network organizations. We organize themselves according to the concepts and principles of what we call sociocracy, that will assist communities in each country to establish these local and regional community engagement teams that we call INAB collaboratives, or interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives. So this being the new name as we rebrand, but the primary purpose of both the business and the network is to promote the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of globalization of the global goals, specifically by promoting processes that can help local communities to establish partnerships as per SDG 17 that will support local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative climate, smart, community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. So the main purpose of the Global Unity Network is these country chapters being developed to use our ad hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassador process of localization of global goals, a specific community engagement process that we've developed in order to assist local communities to establish local, regional, interfaith neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives, for these 5 NAB collaboratives in each local community, according to a multi-stakeholder heptamatrix partnership template. So the partnership between Drawdown Markham, CSO, and the 5 Points Youth Foundation NGO was being done originally through the Re-Energize Global Corporation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, whose mandate is to deliver these life value peace education within the context of the Life Learning Gardens that we now call Unity Gardens. So under the framework of cooperation, rather than just looking at individual projects on a one-by-one basis, the Global Unity Network is being created to establish a support network that will help to establish these local support networks in each community. These consist of professionals in each local community whose projects are to be implemented. So ultimately, assessments of projects are not to be done by people who are remote to the projects, but rather by trusted people who are closest to the projects, including the beneficiaries, especially those who are currently the most marginalized in the community. Our goals being, of course, to support and uplift people in these marginalized communities through the delivery of peace learning programs, the practical hands-on educational training, and to promote all of the youth and female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement these replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting, of course, with the Sustainable Development Goals. So we focus on these regenerative solutions that can be localized one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, by working with the people that have most being forgotten and marginalized, with the intention, of course, of leaving no one behind. So our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. And so if we can lift people out of poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. The goal being, therefore, to uplift the bottom billions. So our ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way, where we would think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and feed him for a lifetime. The Global Unity Network is about teaching especially women and youth to fish so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. Our focus is on promoting and demonstrating only the open source solutions, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure set up as Unity Garden classrooms at and with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools, etc. And again, I can send anybody who wishes to read more a 4-page PDF document that describes the Global Unity Network in more detail. One thing I did want to do today is reference some additional organizations that I have not normally put into the chat. Previous occasions. So this is some new information that I have not included previously with regard to related organizations. So we are supporting and work in partnership with the Unity programs of the global or the local Unity Network organizations that have been established and continue to be established around the world that deliver various projects, campaigns, and events, such as the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, the Sunlight Spectacle virtual entertainment events and shows, along with these Indigenous Global Unity Summit event series, which of course takes place originally up until AHIABGA Day next year, but now extended until the end of 2022. As well, we have the coordinated international bubble fun festivals. We are, of course, working in support of the expansion of the Global Women's Development Network. And one more time, I have additional information about the Bubble Fun Festival in the chat today. I am putting some additional information. So as noted, we are supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as Lifeline Gardens, designed for the delivery of hands-on practical learning programs supporting all manner of life value peace education. So these infrastructure solutions include the CSV Gardens, the Victory Forest, the Climate Smart Kitchens, the Spark Learning Centers, or Climate Smart Education and Training Centers, as well as what are called Wheel of Life farms and farm schools. So our projects include something called the Sacred Site and Watershed Mapping Project, along with the CTP program, or Collaborative Tree Planting Program Initiative for Twinning Communities, as well as the collaboration for the development of a system of payments for ecosystem services for certified climate smart products that help to permanently sequester carbon and that are made by humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises that are helping to implement local solutions for achieving the global goals of localized solutions, starting, of course, with the SDGs. Some of the other key campaigns include a dream boards in every community campaign to establish local community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth to help turn their dreams into reality, along with the tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. So the idea being, of course, to sit down, even if only virtually, to have tea, to relax and discuss local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people and their environments in each of our own local communities. So people who participate would discuss what kinds of teas they like to drink, what healthy foods they like to eat while drinking those teas, and what unique teas they grow in their own local communities and region that are important to them and their local people and cultures. So our first continental network, development network, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, intended to be a safe place for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop a continental network for all the people of Africa for eventual replication across every other country worldwide, starting with the least developed countries, communities, and economies. The initial board of directors for this African continental network listed in this slide. They also have confirmed an official advisory board. Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone is our new continental president, working with Dr. Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria in the West Africa region as the new vice continental president. So Sierra Leone being one of the oldest global Unity Network chapters, with 10 trees of peace and reconciliation already planted in communities across the country, which serve as a precursor for the creation of the local INAB collaboratives and the establishment of the Unity classroom infrastructure. So the new board of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was put together in a way to try to represent the 6 regions of Africa, and the selection process made an attempt to achieve gender balance of the board by ensuring that half of the board members and leaders were women as per SDG 5 gender equality. So the team is now working in cooperation with the existing Global Unity Network country chapters in Africa to create a model for the development of a continental and regional network of networks by working with the grassroots people in each of the country chapters. So the African model will eventually be replicated in order to create country chapters across all 55 African nations, possibly also by liaising with, for instance, the African Union. But the African success is not just for Africa, it will also be for other continents and countries around the world, where we focus our efforts as always on those least developed countries, communities, and economies, and those communities that are being further or furthest left behind. So we are also planning to link the North American, Turtle Island, and African agendas across time and space, linking our programs together in a way that makes sense by developing what we're calling the reverse CTP program, modeled on the original CTP program developed by Grada and Markham in late 2019. The business group has its home in Canada, but with strong support and involvement from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the United States. We'd also like to, for everyone on this call today, to consider joining at least one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the Global Unity Network social media discussions that have been created by the Global Unity Business Group, which is, as noted, a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as the Life of Verdes or Unity Verdes. So as well, I'd like to mention some of the other critical nodes of the Global Unity Network, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learning Network, the Unity Health Network, the Unity Village or Eco Village Network, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, as well as the Unity Environment Network, the Unity Biodiversity Network, and we're also developing even more essential nodes in our network, including the Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, Smart Communities and Cities Network, a Social Business Network, a Climate Smart Tourism Network, aligning with the Tourism for SDGs mandates, the Women and Feminist Network for humanitarian entrepreneurs, business owners, and managers to exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among themselves, and a number of other critical networks and nodes. Most recently, a Unity Water Network designed to address all of the various water sustainability issues that are related to the achievement of the global goals as we attempt to transition to a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Oops. So the Global Unity Network is, of course, being created to promote everyone equally who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the achievement of the global goals, not just for the success of their own business. So within the Global Unity Network, the health of people and planet must be placed front and center. The first purpose of the Global Unity Network is to help establish a global network of these local INAB collaboratives. So the INAB collaboratives, this is a new name, Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives, as per the HEPTA Matrix Partnership template. However, we do three main things. We help people in local communities create local INAB collaboratives through this ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of the localization of global goals. And then we help to facilitate the globalized delivery of the regenerative economy learning programs that others have developed, and which is done through the Unity Learning Network to, for, and by the members of the INAB collaboratives worldwide. And then we promote everyone who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the practical and necessary achievement of the global goals, where the Global Unity Network is a network of networks that is inclusive of everyone's network, but only if they agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work, and not to place themselves at the center of attention. I want to talk a little bit about listening. And I think this, at the end of 2021, is an important slide that I added today. Because listening is a learned skill as well. It must be active, and you must listen through your eyes as well, where the old days of blasting out features and benefits and presentations is going past us. It's now about asking questions, and continually asking questions to find what motivates people. They are the important part of the equation, not you. All of you and your features and benefits are nothing to them unless you cover a need. So the best way to do that is through questioning. And if you ask enough questions, and the right ones, you'll eventually uncover a need. And only then can you channel your product or service over to fulfill that need. It's actually called hopping over the fence. If you're on the side, on one side, and they are on the other, you are essentially adversaries. But when you hop over the fence, you embrace them, and together you can look over the fence to see the problem out there, and then together you tackle that problem. So when you ask enough questions and truly listen to the answers, eventually you will uncover that need. This is actually a quote by a gentleman named Rick Mayer from an app, or from an organization called AHIABGA, which is engaged in listening. So choose to listen well, because everyone you meet has something to teach, and be open to the message. Listen, learn, and grow. This is actually a quote by a lady by the name of Monica DeLiz. Seek not to prove what you know. Seek instead to improve and increase what you know and understand by listening well. Listen not just for the purpose of constructing clever comments and comebacks. Listen, truly listen to understand. Communicate in such a way that you become an engaging leader. What does that mean to be an engaging leader? To be an engaging leader, you must engage with others. It's not about the charisma you have, but the connection you create. If you listen to learn and listen to bond, listen to grow wisdom and compassion, to genuinely increase the goodness in life. So let's choose to hear with open ears, choose to see with open eyes, choose to grow with open minds. Let's choose to listen well and listen to build a life and world in which we all can live well. Let's choose to listen to make a difference to those around us and in the world that surrounds us. Let's choose to make today better than yesterday, and tomorrow even better than today. Let's choose to make this and every day a truly great and growth-filled day. This is actually a quote by a gentleman by the name of Bob Giambeluca, who's a difference maker in Arizona. And John, from the John Maxwell Group, he's a certified mentor, coach, and speaker. Together, let's choose to live with intention. Let's choose to live with meaning and goodness. Let's choose to make a difference in this gift of life we have. Let's choose to make today better than yesterday and tomorrow even better than today. Let's choose to make this a truly great day filled with kindness and understanding. Because through your life, even though your life is not perfect, in a world, in a lot of ways, you have it very good. Celebrate that goodness, nurture it, build upon it, and keep it going. You can offer kindness where there is too little of it, and give understanding to those who desperately seek it. Your kindness will be remembered more as an attribute and a virtue of who you are, more than any other value. When you need it the most, kindness stands out the clearest. Ask yourself, who do we have around us today that needs us to spread a little kindness their way? Let's go out there today and make a difference in the life of another and in the world that surrounds us. Let's go out there and share a little kindness to others. I'd like to also describe the Global Unity Network as a self-defined community where mutual responsibilities are also recognized alongside our rights. So engagement within the Global Unity Network also involves a process of what we call regenerative engagement of self with others. So I'd like to reference an article about Tocqueville's doctrine of self-interest properly understood, described within an article called An Angel and a Brute, where self-interest and individualism in Tocqueville's America by Tom Murphy. He notes that the single skill most necessary for the preservation of equality and freedom is the ability to recognize and respect the rights of self and others, where others also includes Mother Earth and all living things. One can also only learn this by seeing the vital connection between his and her private interests and that of the other. In the international arena, nations and groups of people cannot connect the idea of rights to their private interests, very often because their own rights have been so widely neglected. Faced with such disregard, they find no acceptable alternative but to use force. However, the world's long struggle toward community will proceed, and to continue the metaphor, it has barely begun to go to school. If the virtue of self-interest properly understood remains a vital part of national curricula, if it is regularly taught through the innumerable combinations of citizens seeking it in all corners of their lives, then the country, the world, will remain secure. So within the administrative decentralization of American government, such a system announces that nothing will be done. No roads fixed, no laws enforced, no schools run, no fires fought, no fences mended, or taxes collected, without the direct participation of the individuals on the local level. For this reason, individuals grow in awareness of one man's interest or self-interest need not exclude the self-interest of another. So as soon as common affairs are treated as common, each man notices that he is not as independent of his fellows as he used to suppose, and that to get their help, he must often offer his aid to them. Thus, while one side of equality stimulates competition through the natural compulsion to establish status and identity above the crowd of society, another side teaches that cooperation is actually the only means of achieving any level of prosperity. Noting also that in a democracy, there is strength only in numbers. So Tocqueville sees the American obsession of forming associations as the ultimate and most natural recognition of this truth. It's also the surest way to stimulate local energies and resist the despotic tendencies inherent in an equal society, where he noted that feelings are renamed, the heart enlarged, and the understanding developed only by the reciprocal action of men one upon each other. And if men are to remain civilized or to become civilized, the art of association must develop and improve among them at the same speed as equality of conditions spreads. In other words, government cannot truly enthuse an individual. Only a group of interacting individuals can bring life to a government. Civil and political associations lead men back from the edge of desperate individualism through a regenerative engagement of self with others. So this last statement describes the backbone of the Global Unity Network. And I will put in a link to this article called An Angel and a Brute, Self-Interest in Individualism. So my colleague Matt Falk, actually, from the Easy Expo group, recently shared an interesting graphic with me, which I also shared with members of the Global Unity Network. So after I shared it, a comment came back from Jacqueline Tomashko, who wrote, "In our so-called modern but not enlightened world, we are so accustomed to taking from nature, unlike our forefathers, who were wise enough to give gratitude and thanks verbally and physically." I also saw an article that noted that it takes communication to build a community, but there can be no community without a conversation. And that a job is only work when the aspect of love and loving what one does for the joy and betterment of oneself and others is missing. We do what we do because we know that no one is left out or behind in a meaningful ecosystem. So coming to the end of today's presentation, in summary again, the humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs that we're supporting are very much focused on engaging youth, educators, and decision makers in these learning programs and community engagement processes, but with a strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities and also their homes and families as per SDG 5, gender equality. So the goal of our business network is to eventually establish a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is just a fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. The Global Unity Network that we're establishing is a network that includes platforms for delivering education, training, awareness raising, open idea, and cultural exchange programs, which is managed by the Global Unity Business Group, which is a hybrid learning network that we're creating, consisting of a virtual collaborative network of interchange for peace that is networked through social media and will be implemented alongside a network of internet-enabled international Unity Gardens, which is in turn supported by the Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value peace education in each of our local communities. So that ends today's presentation, which is slightly shorter, in about 50 minutes or so. I again would like to recognize our guests, starting of course with the women. I'd also like to
excuse me, Lloyd,
yes.
before you proceed, let's take about a 3-second break. I'm going to put the initial slide up. That way, when we edit it in the future, we'll have a sharp demarcation between the projects. Give me just 1 second, please.
Thank you.
I think you need to stop sharing your screen. I'm not sure you see mine.
Okay, I will do that.
Yes. So this is Andrew Williams Jr., and we're going to end this first segment of today's 30th session of the weekly Eurasia, Americas, and Africa Global Unity Network, creating an Indigenous Global Unity Summit. Thank you so much.
Okay, excellent. So we are now at the point of having our discussions, which we normally do at this time. As I was about to say, I would like to also ask everyone to please put their contact information into the chat window so that others on the call will have your contact info, especially if you are new to these IGU Summit events in the Global Unity Network. And I just wanted to mention that that presentation that I did today was actually, as I said, cut short. There are at least 10 more slides in the normal presentation, but because I wanted to fit the time in to allow Andrew to make a presentation today, I'm going to actually hand it over to Andrew to decide if he wants to have a chat first, questions and answers regarding the presentation I did, or to go directly into his own presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Lloyd. Actually, I'd like to ask our guests to put their questions or comments about your presentation in the chat, and mine actually is related to yours. So I'll make the presentation and then we'll open the floor for our guests.
Okay, excellent.
I see we have Miriam Khan joining us as well. So just, let's see here, just a moment.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, family.
Hello,
Good to see you on
Lloyd
the
and
call.
Andrew and everybody. Good to see everybody.
Greetings. So I do want to introduce, as Lloyd mentioned at the beginning, the Ed Fu Foundation sponsored our first series of over 28 weekly Global Summit events. Now, they haven't gone anywhere. It's just that Andrew Networks has stepped up to take us beyond our original goal. Originally, we were focused on a 52-week, a whole year presentation that was going to end on around May 25th, which is Africa Day. However, because now Andrew Networks has stepped into the fray, we're actually taking this throughout the entire year of 2022. This is part of our continual annual renewal and regenerative commitment to create an entire decade of action to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals. We're not waiting for the governments to make these decisions, and we're not waiting for nonprofits to make the decisions, or businesses, or even civil society. We're taking the responsibility, each of us individually, to do so. So in that regard, what you see on your screen there is Andrew Networks. And that name came about because of the networks I personally have, Andrew Williams Jr. But you see at the top there, AHIABGA-TV, that's for the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and excuse me, and advocates, of which Lloyd is the representative, not just of Canada, but the Francophone community, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island. We have multiple regional, multilingual, multicultural representatives around the world. And one of those is here in Los Angeles. And let me also give acknowledgement that I'm talking to you from the land of the Tongva people here in California. And my own roots, I'm from Georgia, but I am among those what's called the Gullah Geechee. And I also have Creek Indian in my lineage, as well as European from Irish ancestors. So when we speak about addressing Indigenous issues, my commitment is not for the faint-hearted, and it's not overnight. It's for my last living breath to do what I can to reconnect our entire human family. But more specifically, what we've been doing all these weeks that we've been talking together, in my mind, is just practicing, because there are only 5 corporations that own 95% of the world's media. We believe it's our responsibility, if we're going to have our own narrative, we have to be as professional, as polished, as educational, and as entertaining as those top Fortune 500 companies. That won't happen overnight. So we use this platform as an open platform where we're able to introduce ourselves And going forward, I hope Lloyd will be able to share with you the exciting lineup that we have that stretches out through 2022. However, we want to ask each of you to think about yourself completing or presenting a 24-minute to 48-minute visual presentation. When I say visual, not just a talking head, because this is really not only for us, the adults, it's truly also for the youth. Their attention span is much shorter than ours. So it's going to be necessary for us to engage them where they are. Also, I'd like to ask you to reach out to your own network of young people so that we can eventually have a succession plan. We're only here as placeholders, but in order for there to be a successful succession plan, the youth have to become involved with what we're doing from the hands on. I'm glad Marion Kahn is here. She's made a commitment along with myself and others in the Andrew networks to, in March of 2022, have the second annual International and Indigenous Women's Development Conference. There'll be at least 5 days of addressing key issues for the Sustainable Development Goals. But along the way, we've had the involvement of, of the University of Management and Technology in Pakistan, and they were able to provide us, on one occasion, up to 150 of their interns that paid attention and paid time to create social media options for their conference. I'm suggesting that we bring all of the resources that we have to bear here and take advantage of what our global media ambassador, Lady Alicia Hamilton, has made available to us. Rather than charge us the normal price of like $500 for the setup and $300 per month, the AHIABGA-TV now has an online broadcast platform where you can subscribe free, and we can begin to upload the videos from all of our Zoom activities from around the world in whatever language that we have, and organize it so that we can attract a global audience. For the past several years, since 2007 is when the platform was set up, but over the years, they've grown now to have over 1 million unique hits every month. But there is very little new content. So what we are able to do is have our own private network, unlike YouTube, where on YouTube, you don't know what the next video will be about. This is a private network, so we know what's coming up, and will be faith-based, educational, inspiring entertainment, but have no graphic, sex, or violence. And specifically, the AHIABGA-TV network is focused on the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular from a standpoint of the United Nations Global Compact. And that is my presentation today, so I'll begin. Just one moment, please.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Wow, that was very concise and quick.
Well, actually, that was just a presentation of my presentation, Lloyd.
Okay, so
bear with me, please.
That was the introduction.
So here's the reality. We all know right now that there is, unfortunately, what a lot of people are calling a vaccine apartheid, because those of us in countries like the United States, Canada, vaccines. However, in parts of Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world, that doesn't exist. So we have to take a certain responsibility for understanding that this is true. But I'm asking that you, in our global audience, understand that we here in the United States, we are facing the same challenges that you are in Africa to a great degree. And on August the 2nd of this year, there was, in fact, a United Nations resolution to create what's called a permanent forum for the people of African descent. So for the first time ever, all of those countries that have a population that is largely composed of people of African descent or leadership will begin to have a forum where they can bring to the United Nations their combined weight so that they can engage with conversations that right now we're shut out of. But again, here in the United States, we have to take a certain responsibility. It was just found last year, well, many of you may recall, on May 25th of 2020, with the unfortunate videotaped and streamed murder of George Floyd. That caused a racial reckoning in many parts of the world, not just here in the United States or the Western Hemisphere, but around the world. But as a result of ongoing studies, it was determined that the Sustainable Development Goals are not being met in the United States. Specifically, the Indigenous, Latino, and African American communities are the ones that are most left behind in this effort to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So part of our commitment is to work together in our local communities to find ways that we can actually impact that outcome. You may also know that the United States pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement during 2018 under President Trump, but we've now rejoined it under President Biden. What we did learn, however, during that interim is that sub-regions were able to participate with the Sustainable Development Goals. By that I mean, for example, here in Los Angeles, our city, which is headed by Mayor Eric Garcetti, our city actually created our own Sustainable Development Plan for Los Angeles. So did our county. And the idea was that we would have to take personal responsibility in our local communities to accomplish these objectives. Part of the reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention today is because of the coming climate chaos that we're all experiencing right now, and that will only increase as we go forward. So we put together this booklet, and I'll put the link into the chat so that you'll be able to access this after today's event. If you see at the top there, those darker parts of the map of the world, those darker parts are places on Earth where the most people are likely to die from the adverse effects of climate change. If you look at the map at the bottom, that's a map of the United Nations Global Compact local networks. You'll find that in those countries where people are most likely to die from the adverse effect of climate change, you have the fewest number of United Nations Global Compact local networks. So in a very practical manner, what we're proposing to do is to increase the number of those local networks and to expand those. So 5 Points Youth Foundation has been a member of the United Nations Global Compact since 2014. At that time, we created a 5-year plan, 2015 through 2020, called Caring for Climate. And the idea was to build a worldwide community resiliency network that would focus on building local strengths and what we're trying to accomplish. So those of you here now are actually a part of that commitment, and we look forward to working with you from now and throughout the rest of the year and beyond. So with that, Lloyd, I'll turn it back over to you, and I'll put links to these documents into the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So it looks like we can actually perhaps end this call fairly soon. But let's have a conversation first, answer some questions. I've not been looking at the chat. I've just been sort of listening and writing my own notes as well. But I'd like to open the floor for everybody to introduce themselves. So I guess we can start with Stephanie, who's in the top right or top left corner of my screen. I actually had a good conversation with Stephanie yesterday, and so she is actually the head of our Unity Learning Network here. So she's in charge of building or helping us build. I'm working with her, of course, closely to do so, but to help us build our network of educators who are looking at the delivery of this life value peace education curriculum, which we're now working closely, of course, with the 4K clubs to establish these local networks in each of our local communities and identify those committed and passionate educators who understand the need for change. So Stephanie, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. Thank you, Andrew, and good to see all of you on the call today. My name is Stephanie Schuler. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I'm currently in my final year of my doctoral studies at the University of Toronto, OISE, the Ontario Institute of Studies in Education. My research focuses on holistic education, social emotional well-being, and my PhD thesis explores the experience of children being labeled disabled, learning disabilities, behavioral disabilities, and the sort. I'm a Canadian representative of ARROW, the Global Alternative Education Resource Organization. And after a lifetime working with children, youth, women, and intergenerational communities in spaces inside and outside of the classroom, like youth groups and camps and community centers, abled and differently abled, led me to being a learning and community design consultant in Toronto, Canada. My degree in play led me to founding and co-creating the Maui Aloha Project Eco-Village Initiative, a co-creation that employs inclusive design, intergenerational communities, valuing well-being of the planet and its inhabitants. The Maui Aloha Project Eco-Village Initiative aims to transform through thriving growth-based design rather than the current deficit model, celebrating multiliteracies, honoring all of our identities, our Indigenous and cultural wisdoms, stewarding the earth, and prioritizing sustainable and regenerative food, housing, and social solutions. I'm a host and producer of a podcast series from the University of Toronto that showcases leading international researchers with their latest language and literacies research. I'm also a co-founder and co-chair with Lloyd of the Global Unity Network, and also co-founder and director of the Unity Learning Network for the purposes of addressing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through communication and practical food systems learning. I look forward to working with all of you and going towards better results for humanity and for the planet. Thank you so much, Lloyd. Thank you, Andrew.
I needed to unmute myself there. Thank you very much, Stephanie. So I'm hoping, let's see, I'm just looking through who's on our line. Susan perhaps could introduce herself to everybody, if she's able to unmute herself.
Good evening,
Susan.
everyone. Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. And my names are Susan Yego. I am the project director, UnityNet Kenya. We have not yet been registered as yet, but we are on the process of getting our registration done. I'm also working with the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya, Nakuru County. In the Ministry of Agriculture, there's a wide spectrum, and we do a lot of things. I have worked in the Ministry of Agriculture for the last 32 years. And professionally, I'm an agricultural engineer, but right now I'm engaged in working with 4K club activities, urban farming for food security, smart greenhouses, establishing greenhouses among the youth and the women, and also doing projects among the youth and the women, like mushroom growing. Right now I have 2 projects going on mushroom, and we are soon harvesting mushrooms, button mushrooms. I'm also having projects like food value chain, that is processing of maize from its original state into a flour, maize flour for consumption. And we also have other food processing value chain like groundnuts. We grow groundnuts, and I'm able to teach groups, youth groups, women groups, on processing groundnuts into peanut butter. Among other processing value chain, I do have tomatoes that we grow in greenhouses, and I'm able to teach, train youth groups and women groups on how to process tomatoes, especially ripe tomatoes, into puree or tomato jam, tomato paste, and all that for conservation. Because when preservation, because when we have lots of ripe tomatoes and they're not yet sold in the market, we are able to preserve them so that they can have a longer life shelf. Apart from that, also, I do general growing of crops. I teach farmers how to grow crops, all types of crops, maize, beans, vegetables, kitchen gardening, and also planting of trees. Right now, before the year ends, we had started a project with all 4K clubs, establishing of tree nurseries. And also we are starting the same projects with youth groups when the year begins. Just like what Loy has said, thank you, Loy and Mr. William Andrews. And thank you so much for reminding us that we want to make tomorrow a better place than today. And therefore we are engaging to do that together, and we shall work together in the UnityNet, Global UnityNet network. Thank you so much again, Mr. Loy and Mr. Andrew. And thank you for everyone who came today to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The work you're doing in Kenya, actually, through the 4K clubs is so inspirational. I think this is what we actually need to happen around the world. So I implore you to work with Stephanie as well to begin the work to identify and establish these 4K clubs across Africa and throughout our networks as well. Working with Tukitane, we are establishing Tukitane here in Canada as an NGO as well, so they will assist through the NGO activities in the local communities as part of every interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaborative.
Although since Miriam Khan is here, it's kind of late where she is. I don't know if she's ready, but Miriam Khan, I'd like you to take a time to introduce yourself and tell us all about the work that we're doing, because I think everyone here would be interested and involved with our platform coming up. So Miriam Khan, do you have time to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. This is Mariam Khan, Executive Director, Community Development Foundation, and co-founder of Global Women's Development Network. And also joining, whenever I have time, these discussions also with Sir Lloyd, and I learned a lot from all these processed discussions every week. Thank you so much. So, but currently the purpose of joining this meeting is to highlighting and describe our work also, especially the upcoming work. Most of the colleagues in this meeting today have joined us in our 16 Days of Activism for Development campaign. And now we are moving forward with all these persons in the International Indigenous Women's Development Conference, which is going to be held in March 2022, from 4th March to 8th March. This is 5 days, virtual event, which is going to be catered under different themes. And we started, making strategy to market this and to sending letters, promotions, everything from, from January onwards. And so many persons having seen our promos also. So this is open invitation for everyone that we are going to open our partnerships, our collaborations under women in agriculture, women in businesses, women in education, women in community services, women in investments, or even women in technologies and women in sports as well. So whatever as an individual or as an organization, if you are relevant with these themes, or even not having your components of your organizational work is not relevant with these themes, other than you are most welcome to attend this conference. Shortly, Sir Andrew is going to share the registration link with this conference. We submitted this link for the review today to the Sir Andrew, and he's definitely, update this link and share with all audience. And we tried to cover every component under this registration form, which can describe better about the candidates, about the audience, or about the guests as well, in both situations, either as an individual or as an organization. So Global Women's Development Network is because I'm the co-founder of Global Women's Development Network. As Global Women's Development Network is going to, taking this conference on a very, very high level. We are registered during our campaign. We are registered with the UN Global Marketplace as well. And we are also expecting our registrations with UN Women or with the CWS as well. So we are in process to cater the big platforms for all women, starting from grassroots till top leader management. So in this conference, we are going to cater at least 50 countries, women leadership, which are coming in these 5 days under different themes, and they are sharing their experiences, their capabilities, and their organizational work. We are open our doors for the collaborations also. And we are also inviting them to show their work, especially those organizations which are working with the women entrepreneurs. We are also going to open virtual exhibition of your entrepreneurs in these 5 days. So you can always, whenever you attend you come to attend the conference, you can open the product windows of your entrepreneur, and all over the world people can see your entrepreneur work during these 5 days also. So thank you so much. We are also sharing this website also, might be in the beginning of the January, so you can find more information and better registration about yourself, about your organizations. And we are also open for the suggestions from your side to make this more and more effective event, especially which can benefit for all women across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And Lloyd, I'm going to just show a brief 2-minute video, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Give me just 1 second, please.
Thank you.
I don't think I clicked the sound, but it's just music, but the information will be self-explanatory.
So who has the best singing voice so they can sing for us? That's the presentation gets displayed.
So we have the music also on this video, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's only 2 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it play. I'll tell a few seconds.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Oh, well, we just need to identify our local entertainers. I'm not sure if we have any on this call.
Well, I just wanted to show you that we've been working very hard since March of last year, but we are now moving to not just work hard, but to have a global impact. So from those of you from Kenya, from Hawaii, from around the world, I put the registration link in the chat. So please register your organization, and we look forward to finding ways that we can work and network with you. Only about 5 more seconds, and that's a wrap.
Excellent.
Okay, Lloyd, the ball's back in your court.
All right, so thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mariam. But, it's always good to put what we are doing into the context of the larger picture and actually consider the work of the Global Women's Development Network, the larger picture. We're just a small
Thank you so much, sir.
part of
Thank
this.
you.
We're supporting the entire network of women in the world. as Andrew said earlier, moving forward, regardless of what other people are doing at those higher levels, where decisions often take much longer to be made. At sort of the UN level, especially government levels and corporate levels, where boards of directors often meet only once a month, if not even less often. Especially governments tend to take long breaks.
Well, Lloyd, as this is the New Year's Eve, perhaps we can move to close this out after we allow anyone else that hasn't had a chance to speak to introduce themselves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm looking for anybody that would like to say a few words. I'm seeing especially somebody like Heather Bigeland or Gabriela Malaka.
Lloyd, if I may.
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Erwan.
I'm Irwan Rusli. I'm from the Rusli Institute of Technology and Development. I would like to, I'm basically the observer, just recently kind of familiar with Lloyd program and everybody program here. But I'm interested mainly in the specific area. That is a technology and development aspect. That's my specific area. And I'm hoping that there will be some opportunity to do collaboration work with any organization that dealing with that area specific, whether it is sustainable development goal activities, for example, especially dealing with the poor area, poor region, underserved, and everyone that that we focus on. So I'm interested with some of the program that was mentioned, whether indigenous or in general, whether it is poverty alleviation and so on, with specific with the technology development. So the thing is, I'm hoping that can we do this, start some specific or particular program, action program that we can start pretty soon, so that, for example, can we maybe, Susan just mentioned about some program, this excellent program that we can develop and copy paste for many places as part of whether it is carbon exchange, or whether it is helping alleviate the poverty. This is a specific program that focus. Can we look some of these specific and try to work, for example, in some area, take Kenya or some other area in Africa. I've been looking for Madagascar about vanity. Vanity has been, at the present time, maybe one opportunity to improve the economic of the poor area. Let's look at Uganda. I'm not so sure some of the African countries that are dealing with vanity. Let's focus on that specific area. Let's have some sponsor company, for example, and try to coordinate some kind of strategy with focus certain communities, even though maybe only a few village. Let's do it. That's what I'm. If we have this opportunity, and we get together as a network, and we have this focus program, a certain region of the country, say dealing with the. I was also working with Moringa olivera, which I know has been also used in the program in Africa. Let's copy paste some of the successful program that has been done in the past, and then work. Even though how small it is, I think we should be able to show to the world that we can do that, even though it is a small scale, and that can be copy paste later on. We're talking about tomato paste, was mentioned earlier. Let's talking about any other thing that may be a product of agriculture that can be preserved. Talking maybe anything that the technology can help, whether it is extension or of time of the product, and anything, whether it is irrigation system, whether it is providing clean water, let's look some of this specific project where we can get together, collaborate with each other. I'm talking about even though small scale, even though only a few village, then we can show them through this, whether it is agriculture with the drip system that help or maybe some kind of fertilization process, the use of fertilizer that improves the fruit and so on. And this thing we can start soon. And why can we do that? That's one my point, and I'm kind of, I guess this is all I have as far as my comment. I'm looking forward to kind of respond or comment from other member of the group here. Thank you.
Well, no, Erwin, we thank you. And I think this is at least your second time joining us. What I would ask of you is let us know what your skill sets are. Could you present or create a presentation describing exactly what it is that you have expertise in? Because all of us here are working on projects. Unfortunately, we have not yet, I don't think, had the opportunity to make available to our audience all of the various projects that are going on. For example, Susan Yago in Kenya, as she said, for 32 years, she's worked with the agricultural ministry. So obviously there are many projects that are going on a small scale. We just need to connect together your particular interests or suggestions with the existing projects that are going on, and let us help you to get more showcase for the skill sets you want to bring to the table. So make sure you do have your email address and contacts in the chat so we can follow up with you.
Yeah, just briefly, I'm a chemical engineer by background, and I've been working mostly in the US. I'm in US domicile. So my area is trying to overall, probably I'm pretty much on the overall in terms of technology as far as related to chemical technology or any other general technology. So optimization process, for example. So all these things, maybe we can improve what Susan has. For example, let's look at some of her earlier project. Let's optimize the system. Let's copy paste to other places. And this can be done relatively quickly. So I will put it in the chat room.
Yes.
My website, basically, rusli-institute.org. So
Excellent. Excellent. That way, Susan Yago, I'd suggest that yourself and others reach out directly. I see Miriam Khan, your hand is raised. So I'll let you reply. And anyone else, if you raise your hand, Lloyd will recognize you or just start talking. Miriam Khan, the floor is yours.
Yes, so I just want to ask quick question that we have one of the domain in women in technology. So as per the comment from the Urban, what exactly they can add in IWDC in the technology component? What they can contribute in this event? Because they said that they want to deliver something in technology, they want to deliver something in development. So what exactly they can deliver in this event in terms of technology for IWDC 2022?
And Erwin, in the chat, I put a link to the registration page where Miriam Khan is asking you and everyone to actually complete the registration form, because that will tell us what your interests are, and you can find out more about what activities are going on. So I think would be a very good thing to do.
Yeah, I would like to do that. As far as the just mention quickly about the technology, as I mentioned, this is something that maybe we can optimize whatever being done right now, maybe in the low level technology, for example, in the village. Let's take a look, and then how can we optimize it? How can we improve the societal benefit to the communities? So anything, a comprehensive program, whether it is freshwater technology, or whether it is agricultural technology to improve the fertilization of the crop, for example. How can we improve with the drip system irrigation, for example? That we, and so many that we can take a look, and we can apply the technology that we have here either to improve the production of the food or the production of whatever is being processed, being done. I'm sure there's a way to optimize, to improve. I also has a scenario where there's I call it G system, a guaranteed income system. So again, this is for poor family, for poor farmer, could be individual family or farmer. So we provide funding, whether to buy seedling, whether to buy fertilizer, they all provide by the funder, the funding provider. And then they just work on the land, make sure when, and at the end, when they come up with harvest time, then the product can be either donated to other institution or maybe as part of a return to the investor. So there will be a win-win situation. And make sure, in other words, the key point is that the poor farmer doesn't come up with any money. They all will be taken care of by the funding provider. So in this case, if the funding provider is maybe NGO, then they will be simply supply all this necessary thing for the farmer. And then the product later on, whether it can be given to other charity. So it will be a multiplier effect. So beside the farmer who has income, also the product can be provided to some other receiver. So this is the step that we can do, so that not simply just giving money to farmer and let them do it, but we're providing all the necessary seedling and fertilizer and so on, and then let them work on, come up with the harvest product. And then once the product given, whether put it in the market for the village, maybe for the benefit of the village. And remember, the farmer already they get their income. And if the NGO, for example, would like simply provide the product to other institutions as a social impact, then will be another level of benefit given to this. So this kind of thing, it can be made more optimized, more effective in improving the economy of the village, for example. So that's one.
Well, thank you so much. I just inboxed you my contact information. If you'll inbox me yours, and I'll be happy to follow through. The challenge that we have, Erwin, is that everything that you're saying is not just relevant, but very important for what we're doing. We need to find a way to process that information into what we're doing. But again, if you put your contact information in the registration form that I just put in there for Miriam Khan, that at least we'll be able to begin to start to connect the dots together. I can't tell you how much we're glad that you're here, and we look forward to working with you starting right now. We have projects right now that will qualify for what you're doing.
Okay, Andrew, I will do that. Thank you.
I would also like to mention as well, I've been having conversations with Carlos, of course, who had one of the very first Unity Network chapters in Africa and had planted the trees as well. So Carlos and I have been talking about undertaking what we call a climate smart rice farming initiative to develop a process of then creating a certified climate smart rice farm system. That could be a conversation which could follow up as well. And we actually also wanted to do that in South Asia as a joint project between Africa and Nepal and
well, again, those, Lloyd,
wherever rice is grown.
I believe again, for Erwin's perspective, having a written concept note of the kind that Miriam Khan has put together is going to be the way that we have to quantify exactly what we have, what we're trying to accomplish, so we can integrate our resources into specific outcomes. But again, Lloyd, I'm trying to get us all out of here, but we keep having people coming in. So at least let the people coming in acknowledge them so we can get out of here.
Well, my hope is that people don't want to get out of here.
Well, give them the floor then, Lloyd.
So if anybody has additional comments or suggestions, or would like to introduce themselves, please do so. If not, I suppose then we can get off the line. Either unmute yourself and say a few words, or put your hand up.
Hi.
Hello, Juliet.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, Lloyd and Andrew, you have my name correct today. Remember, I was Heidi last week.
It only took 5
Yeah.
weeks. We're learning.
Hi, guys. Good evening to everyone and good morning. My name is Juliet Miabo. I'm logged in from South Africa. This is my second logging in, and I've learned quite a lot, and I'm actually quite relieved after Heather had invited me, after Heather and Heidi invited me. I'm quite relieved that based on the presentation that we saw earlier on, that it's actually very much in line with, I believe, a lot of areas or gap areas that our country, South Africa, needs to fill. South Africa is I think it's in a very unfortunate position, which I'm sure most people know, in terms of you have a majority population that loves a third world life. They either unemployed, they've never been employed, they're illiterate. So majority of the population is literally third world, yet they exist in a first world environment, you know? So that creates a lot of psychosocial problems where people will aspire for what is unfortunately at this stage not achievable, you know? I'm just saying at this stage, because I think with the type of programs and the collaborations and everything else that this network represents, that can change, and some of the work that we do. And this reality informs and has always informed my work. I have a social sciences degree from the University of Cape Town. I specialize in political philosophy. But I worked in the fashion industry. But I realized I can't work for profit, and later I joined the broadcaster. I was in broadcasting for about 20 years, so I have a bit of background with media. But what is, even when I was working with the broadcaster, the South African SABC, what happened is the national broadcaster, I always made sure that in all their programs, content, marketing campaigns, that I include the element of development. You know, I would make sure that I include CSI. So I strongly believe that media plays a very important role in shaping the mindset of society, especially in a country like ours. And I'm actually saying this with a very heavy heart, because a country where people are literally squashed up in 4-room houses or in environments where they have no recreation, media, television particularly, and recently the internet becomes the only form of entertainment or recreation that they would have as families. So you have whole families gather around, and that's possible.
Unfortunately, it sounds like we lost our audio. You seem to have muted yourself, perhaps unintentionally.
Am I okay now?
Yes, now we hear you.
Okay, sorry about
The
that.
last thing we heard was about education through the internet.
Oh, yes,
gather
yes.
around, I guess, the devices they have.
Yes, yes. Because that leads me to that I link to what Andrew was saying in terms of media, and also having a media that is where you can watch and not have any doubt what's coming on. You know, what's the next? I mean, are you going to see a naked body? And as I say, and really the sad thing is that media being so critical is that it needs to be challenged. And when I was within the broadcaster, I was part of the moral regeneration movement. I used to represent the SABC, the national broadcaster. The irony of that was that the moral regeneration movement was headed by then the president of the country, Jacob Zuma. And we all understand that all the problems and the legal issues that he faced meant that movement became questionable. I mean, it fell before it started. So what that means that there's a gap for a moral regeneration movement using media, because my angle there was to actually look at how media or the national broadcaster could be used to regenerate morality. And what we are seeing now, the lack of that, what we are seeing is the effects of capitalism in our country. Number one of them is television channels. All you see, I think out of 10 TV ads, 9 will be of alcohol. Literally, I mean, it will be, and I watch because I am monitoring. So what then happens is with the society that is third world, but is faced with first world aspirations, but with very low or no morality, alcohol is being thrown as, what was it, Karl Marx, as like an opium to numb people or to make people think that they could heal through alcohol. So the whole issue of moral regeneration needs to be looked at. And that is why that when I left corporate, in spite of doing projects there, I started working on projects for youth. I focus on youth development. I ran an organization called Gemma Skaters Youth Development. It's skaters there, we focus on anything that's on wheels, because I'm very passionate about sport. Sport is relevant in South Africa. And when I say in South Africa in this context, I mean predominantly Black South Africa, township South Africa, because we were demarcated according to race and also townships and normal areas. So sports is critical because through sports, I've been able to introduce a principle of, I call it the 3D effect, 3D, which is like discipline, dedication, desperation to win. So I've been able to introduce certain things to young people, things that you normally wouldn't be able to, because to tell an average 15-year-old in South Africa who's aspiring to hold the latest bottle of alcohol or to buy the most expensive whiskey, because that's what the media is putting up there, or to dress with as little clothes as possible, to try, or to buy the next biggest car without working for it, to try and get to them, to try and have a positive effect on them psychosocially and spiritually, without either sports or the creative. It's almost a winning battle. You know, we pray on, we're in battle, but I'm able to use sports for that. But what is happening is with sports, we've had to also bring in the element of the creative. There's what we call Soweto Creatives, which we've established to try and also allow the outlet of creativity, because young people, that's what they're passionate about, you know. And I work with an organization, I did introduce myself last year, that I also work with an organization called Township Economic Council of South Africa. And there, I'm there as an entrepreneur, but also I'm the director of stakeholder relations. And TEXA was formed on the basis of looking at the fact that, I don't know if this is worldwide, but I think I've seen in some countries where that's the reality. But in the townships of South Africa, the sad reality that I was speaking of, other people have monopolized it. So we have situations where big businesses, not multinationals, big businesses have taken over the economy, small entrepreneurs. So there's no entrepreneurship development, but government has recognized that. And I'm sure we are all aware of what happened in July, in Durban, the looting and the insurrection and all that. So government has realized that there's a problem of development and ownership. So TEXA, Township Economic Council of South Africa, works in partnership with stakeholders to ensure entrepreneurship development in the townships. I'm also part of SOPCO, Soweto Business Collaboration. So we are encouraging SMMEs or business or small business people to collaborate amongst each other. I mean, business is very competitive, but but it is a process and it's also a mindset, because people tend to be more myopic and be more self-centered around what they want. But we're encouraging the spirit of collaboration through SOPCO. I'm the head of Soweto CSI Council. It's exactly that, but what it does is we look at how we work with organizations, businesses, to say that the grants that our government is giving the majority of the poor people, I mean, we're talking, I think more than 15 million South Africans are dependent on social grants in the country, in a country of about 40 million people. So it's a majority of the adults. So what is the people who are then benefiting from those grants are the big companies, are the other people who come into the townships to open businesses. So what we then saying with the Soweto CSI Council and the Township CSI, what is it that we are trying to find ways of getting those companies and organizations, and to say, if you are going to milk those 350, because 350 times 14 million, we're talking a lot of money. And I'm just talking the 350. I'm not even talking the pension grant. So we are saying, trying to find a way of urging people to give back. But we focus more on issues of gender-based violence, because with an increase of poverty, with an increase, we're sitting at about more than 45% unemployment rate, with an increase of unemployment, with a very low rate of morality in a society that is very young. We are faced with serious issues of gender-based violence, particularly sex violence. We're talking rape, molestation, raping of children. And recently we started a program to help with legal processes in court, because what has happened is, let me not go, we've also found out that a lot of the gogos, we call them bokuku, the program we call bokuku, it focuses on the elderly people who are actually being abused by either their grandchildren or their nephews or nieces, who are abusing alcohol, and they take the money, but some of them actually go to a point of being molested. So sorry, Lord, I don't know if you can I continue? Can I continue?
Yeah, someone just rolled the computer. Yes, go right ahead, Juliet.
Okay, I'm wrapping up. That should be a commercial break. Hopefully it's not an alcohol one. Anyway, no, the level of laughter made me think maybe it could be an alcohol ad. You know, they're always happy, those ads. Anyway, then what we then picked up is that with the Bokuku program, and we work with all the courts, especially the courts in the townships. I mean, in Soweto, there are 3 magistrate courts. We went in there with the purpose of assisting abused women with the filling in for the application for the protection order. I mean, first of all, you have a 15-page application form for a protection order, which has to be filled in by women.
Juliet, yes. I apologize, but we were trying to wrap up. I'd suggested.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Just schedule a time when you can make a presentation and not just have your verbal description, but give us a presentation that can be shared with the world. You're in the media. We're reaching people on Facebook right now. Our Facebook group has over 1,500 people, but I posted this to a dozen different groups. But it's important that we have the visual to go along with what you're talking about, so that people can become engaged. So I would ask you to put together a presentation about what you're talking about, so we can better assist you in accomplishing your objective.
Awesome. Okay. No, much appreciated. No, that should summarize it, and I think it will then. I will do that as suggested, Andrew. Thank you again. Maybe I'm just very passionate, and it can be a very lonely world. But thank you for this platform, and I'm glad I was invited. And I look forward to working with the people on this group.
Also, everyone should know in the chat, I just put a link to last week's event and the chat content. So that has the contact information for people that were here last week. And also make sure, Juliet, you have your contact information here so that we can connect with each other. No one is stopping us from doing our outreach among ourselves. That's the whole point in the UnityNet network. So do your part, reach out to us, reach out to me. I'm ready, let's do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
So,
much appreciated.
Yeah, so Juliet, connect with me and we will schedule a time in the new year for you to do a presentation. So we'll have that.
Awesome, much
Give you
apprecited.
the time you need.
Okay,
As,
much
as
needed.
Andrew
Thank you so much.
says, put in the visuals and get people really to understand it viscerally about what's really happening today.
Okay, all right, we'll do. Thank you again.
So I'm seeing 12:52 on my clock. That means we are approaching the 2-hour mark. So unless
and we have another Zoom event coming up in 8 minutes, which is another reason why I was trying to make sure anyone that wants to say something, now's your time, or forever hold your peace. All right, Umar, your hand is up. Let's do it. You have to unmute yourself, Umar. Adamu?
Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Umar Adamu from Ghana, and currently I'm the Chief Executive Director of Center for Muslim Youth in Peace and Development. And our objective and our target and our work towards peace in West Africa. And we realize that there are a lot of, political conflict in Africa and perpetrated by the youth through politicians. And when you look at our sub-region, the West African area, mostly we have a lot of Muslim youth, and we do a lot of propagation of peace in democracy, peace in development. And when you look at West Africa, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and most of these sectors were mostly Muslims were the triggers of the peace of the democracy at that sector due to the religious conflicts and a religious misunderstanding and religious misinterpretation. So we normally engage youths within West Africa. And moreover, I'm part of the Ghana Peace Council and part of the Ghana Youth Authority, and I engage with the West African Youth Integrity and African Youth Charter. So UNTP mobilize most of the youth in Africa to engage them with the Democratic Peace Initiative. So we normally target the youth to understand the nature of democracy and politics. That will result to peace and coexistence. And above all, the youth unemployment too is one of the canker, one of the challenges. And the youth unemployment in West Africa
Umar,
is a challenge. Yeah.
Umar, I apologize. However, again, the things that you're talking about need to be shown in a visual presentation. So I would suggest that you contact Lloyd and arrange a time where you can make a presentation of what you're talking about. All we're trying to get done here is present the challenges and the opportunities for us to work forward. We all know the problems. What we want to discuss is the solutions. So thank you so much. Sure, you have your contact information in the chat. And Lloyd, I'll turn it back over to you to close this down. I have another meeting in 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Omar, and thank you, Andrew. I want to thank everybody that came on the call again today. We will get to you. We will have, as Andrew had noted, and as I had noted earlier as well, we're extending these Thursday meetings to throughout 2022. So we'll have many more opportunities to have you come on and present formally with visuals the issues that we're having so we can come together as a community to address them the best we can. We are very much focused on solutions. So I think with that, we will close up today. Thank you again for attending the 30th IGU Summit event. As we move forward from 2021 to 2022, we will have many more things to say and many more presentations to make as we build our network.
And happy New Year to everyone. And also, as I'm here in Los Angeles, we're also the home of a tradition called Kwanzaa. As you may know, here in the United States, in the early 60s, the entire country was riven with riots around the country through racial inequality. And what we did here in Los Angeles is we created this year-end universal celebration of 7 days after Christmas to celebrate universal principles that are based in Africa. And the idea is that we would be able to honor these traditions to connect us all together globally, and in particular, to overcome the challenges in Africa among tribalism, but the challenges around the world for xenophobia and racism, because at the end of the day, we're all one people and we're all one world. And Juliet, as you know, it's in the spirit of Ubuntu. I only am who I am because of who we are all to each other in ourselves, that we can, in fact, achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So with that, I want to thank everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Make sure, if you like to, save the chat, and I will follow up with you individually if you like. My information's in the chat as well. So thank you all, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Andrew.